Yo, what is up guys? XRP's at $1.09 right now on CoinMarketCap. Our first tweet comes from Senator Cynthia Loomis. America needs clarity. Our next tweet comes from Bank XRP. Banks are just waiting for the green light. Raoul Pal, once the Clarity Act passes, all the banks are going to come in and build out their crypto rails fast. And which token has been battle tested, SEC cleared, and institutionally held for years? The rails are already built to XRP. Let's watch this video.
From when I first got into the space, we said we were going to front run Wall Street. That was 2013. We've always said it, and here they are. When I've been speaking to the sovereign wealth funds here this week, and they've all got crypto in their books now.
And they're openly talking about their allocations.
And not only that, but the Treasury Secretary of the United States, who was an ex-macro hedge fund manager, friend of mine, he openly talks about how important it is. We've got Donald Trump talking about it. We've got everybody talking about it. We've got every financial institution building on stablecoin rails. We've got once the Clarity Act is passed, then all of the banks will start building out their crypto rails for everything. And if you speak to everybody, the banks need the clarity, the asset managers need the clarity, the corporations need the clarity, everyone needs the clarity of the Clarity Act. Once you get it, it's the green light. They're all waiting for what exactly is, which things are securities, which are not, how does it all work? And once you've got it, we've got a roadmap. And everybody wants to go. Everybody wants to build on these rails, particularly the financial system, because it's so efficient and so fast to do things that they're incentivized to do it.
Smash that subscribe button and hit that like button if you believe XRP will reach $3 again this year. Our next tweet comes from the Crypto Squire. Loomis speaks out. Senator Cynthia Loomis has just stated that this may be America's last real opportunity to pass meaningful digital asset legislation before 2030. If we don't pass the Clarity Act, another country will write the rules. The countdown continues. Our next tweet comes from Good Evening Crypto. New Clarity Act coming before August 7th. Senate Banking Committee member Kevin Cramer thinks it's possible. Does Clarity get signed in 2026? Comment below and follow for more. Let's watch this video.
A couple of other things that I know you're familiar with.
Well, we thought, it was easier to pass housing, right? I mean, we thought it was easy to pass the Clarity Act. What about the Clarity Act missing its proposed July 4th deadline? It passed the House almost a year ago. It's been held up in the Senate as well, Senator. Is that going to pass soon? We just spoke with the head of the CFTC, and he says we're close to the finish line, but it feels like deja vu again on that.
Well, it does. The Clarity Act is a little, we did pass it out of the committee, as you know, out of the Banking Committee with Democratic votes, but even the Democrats that voted for it in committee won't vote for it on the floor unless a couple of things are straightened out, one of them being some of the ethics language, which I think, by the way, Democrats are insisting on simply because Donald Trump's the president and because he's successful at business, which is bizarre to me. I mean, if we punished every president who was successful at something and said they can't legislate, if they're a farmer like Jimmy Carter, they can't sign a farm bill. I mean, Hoover was in the mining business, for crying out loud. There are lots of potential conflicts, but it's all about Donald Trump in this case. I think there are a couple of those things. That's something that the White House is going to have to work out with Democrats, quite honestly. It's between them. And if the CFTC commissioner chair thinks that we're close, it may be something. There may be something that we know that he knows that we don't know. So I'm still hopeful for clarity. The good thing about clarity, Maria, is both sides do want to do it. They do want to have good legislation along, the issue, obviously, of cryptocurrency, and we need to.
Well, time is running out. Going into the midterms, we'll be watching. Senator, great to see you this morning. Thank you.
Our next tweet comes from Crypto Barbie. New U.S. Senator urges the Senate to act faster. This is our last chance to get real legislation for digital assets on the books before 2030. Pass the Clarity Act. Our next tweet comes from Crypto Barbie. Big news, CFTC Chairman Mike Seelig declared that under President Trump's leadership, the United States will never allow a CBDC. Let's watch this video.
I'm very concerned about central bank digital currencies, and we in the Trump administration have been very clear that that's not going to happen under our watch. We have put out an executive order. The president actually put this out just a week into office, I think on the 25th of January last year, prohibiting central bank digital currencies. And we put out a report that I was part of on the president's working group on digital assets that specifically states that it is a policy of this administration to prevent a central bank digital currency from coming to fruition. But of course, the prior administration was pushing that, and we had to withdraw some of their actions on that.
Is there any?
Our next tweet comes from Zave Crypto. Just in, CFTC chair on the Clarity Act. We have to get this done. No more waiting on a federal standard for crypto. The clock's ticking and the industry knows it. Let's watch this video.
We're so close. We have to get this done. It's absolutely critical that we have federal standards for crypto assets. And right now, we've dealt with a patchwork of state laws and regulations, and it's really been bad for business here in the United States. We want to get this done so that we have certainty, clarity, and consumer protection. Should be a bipartisan issue. We've got to get it across the line.
I mean, is it that the Democrats are stopping the progress because of ethics issues and trying to get specific language in there about President Trump and his family in crypto?
Well, there's certainly some mission creep beyond what's really critical here. We want to set standards and protect consumers, protect investors, and that's something that Democrats and Republicans should be able to get behind. I do think there's a little bit of this creep into ethics and other types of extraneous issues, and they're just derailing this real opportunity to have a bipartisan bill in place. Otherwise, you end up with regulators like me writing all the rules, and I'm sure all the Democrats would prefer to get something in place that's bipartisan.
Our next tweet comes from Bank XRP. Clarity Act Andrew Cuomo just raised a bigger question than crypto itself. He's asking, should sitting lawmakers be allowed to trade markets they're writing the rules for? His point, politicians see the law coming before anyone else. That's inside information in all but the name. Ethics provisions for crypto may need to extend far beyond crypto. Let's watch this video.
Let's not make it a partisan issue. So if it's not, the Senate Democrats that are the biggest obstacle here, what in your view what is the main hurdle that's preventing this legislation from actually making it across the line?
Yeah, it's new, it's different, it raises issues. You're talking about a restructuring of the traditional finance system. And traditional finance players are some of the most powerful people in the country, right? And they want to make sure that the system is protected. So you have powerful concerns on both sides. You don't have the most cooperative Congress and Senate that I have seen, and I've worked with many. And that is an understatement when I say they're not the most cooperative group that we've had. You do have a partisan divide. I am hopeful. And I'm hopeful because the U.S. is getting pushed. You look at what Europe has just done with ESMA and MiCA and it's good for the industry. It's good for the consumer because for this financial ecosystem to work, you need two elements. One, you need the product. A company like OKX, Star Shoe, he's been at it for 13 years. He has the product. Second, you need trust. Trust comes from government regulation. All these people who say, government regulation is the problem. No, it's not. Government regulation helps the private industry because it provides trust. People want to know they were protected. I was the housing secretary. People wanted to know that when they signed the mortgage, they had protection, that the government had reviewed that mortgage and they were not going to get hurt by a bank. I was the attorney general in New York. People wanted to know when they bought securities that they were protected.
Right.
They want to know now, what are the rules and regulations? And do we have regulators who are watching these companies to make sure the bad actors are eliminated? And Europe has done that. And if the U.S. doesn't move quickly, they are going to get passed by.
Our next tweet comes from Ripple Zitty. Just then, Japan's weakening yen is putting XRP on more corporate treasury radars. Our next tweet comes from Bank XRP. Franklin Templeton executive just said the quiet part out loud. XRP is well past the journey, compared to new chains showing up weekly asking for issuance. Let's watch this video.
On their chain. How do you evaluate the right chain and specifically, like, where does XRP fit into that and what are you excited about with regards to XRP and institutional adoption and also the chains that come to you, which I'm sure are coming to you weekly at this point?
Well, yeah, because there's a lot of new chains too, and I think one of the things that another trend that you see globally is that very large institutions, kind of whales that are sitting out there in the global economy, are finding, they're understanding this ecosystem a little bit more, and they're trying to migrate people to using chains or side chains that they have decided to kind of adopt. And so you do see a proliferation of that. And, from Franklin Templeton's perspective, we're going to go where the customers are, quite frankly, right? You're always listening to your customers. And, XRP, and the community around XRP is pretty aggressive at, growing and iterating for these purposes, these trillions of dollars purposes that that we've been speaking about before. And so we have a lot of enthusiasm about working with the team specifically. When our journey started with the global regulators, and we touch a lot of different global regulators, we did create a kind of a selection criteria that kind of, I hesitate to use the word protocol, but it does become kind of a standard when you're the first one through the door and you're learning up these regulators, quite frankly, toward, not that you're, trying to be a decentralized, permissionless issuer of an asset, but you're actually, you're in a securities business and you're permissioned and you're just trying to use these rails as your underlying, data kind of database operating system by and large. And so there's a number of things that we kind of punched through there with the regulators to put that template in place. But we think that, XRP is, well past the journey of even new chains, toward that end. And I think, quite frankly, one of the things that we like the most as the technology at XRP continues to iterate is just the leadership. When I go into meetings with XRP and Ripple, I'm looking at, quite frankly, I'm like looking in the mirror at people that have the same, decades of experience in developing these things, as opposed to just we want to move fast and break shit and and move forward. And so it's wisdom of applying these things that's super important. It's not always just the technology; it's the leadership that's implementing the technology, quite frankly, toward broad purposes, that's going to determine the success of the project.
Real quick, if this helped, press the like button. It tells YouTube to show this to people who want the truth, not hype. And press the subscribe button if you're done being sold the moon. I've already got your next one right here. Go!